Something extraordinary is happening within your body right now. Something so profound that geneticists, neurobiologists, and quantum physicists are struggling to explain it within conventional scientific frameworks. Across the globe, researchers are documenting unprecedented changes in human DNA expression, changes that until recently were considered scientifically impossible. These aren't random mutations, but appear to be coordinated activations of previously dormant genetic potential, what some researchers are calling evolutionary accelerators, embedded within our genome. The most compelling evidence comes from a 2019 multinational study that analyzed DNA samples from over 150,000 people across 25 countries. The results, published in the Journal of Epigenetic Science, but largely ignored by mainstream media, revealed something astonishing. Approximately 83% of participants showed signs of specific genetic activations that were virtually non-existent in human populations just 30 years ago. These activations aren't occurring in what we traditionally consider the coding regions of DNA, the approximately 2% that creates proteins and physical traits. They're happening in what scientists have dismissively labeled junk DNA, the 98% of our genome, whose purpose has remained mysterious to conventional science. But leading-edge researchers are now recognizing that this so-called junk DNA isn't junk at all. It appears to be a complex system of genetic switches, evolutionary potentials, and what some are calling interdimensional access points within our own biology. Today, I'm going to share what pioneering researchers have discovered about these DNA activations, what they are, why they're happening now, and most importantly, how you can consciously participate in this process that's already underway within your own body. But before we explore the specific activations and how to enhance them, it's crucial to understand what scientists mean by 5D consciousness, because this isn't just spiritual terminology, it's becoming a legitimate framework for understanding these biological changes. In conventional science, we understand reality as having 4 dimensions, 3 dimensions of space, height, width, depth, and 1 dimension of time. All our physical laws, biological models, and understanding of consciousness have been built on this 4-dimensional framework. But quantum physics has revealed that this model is incomplete. At the quantum level, particles demonstrate behaviors that can only be explained by additional dimensions, including the phenomenon of quantum non-locality, where particles instantaneously affect each other regardless of distance, transcending the limitations of both space and time. What researchers are now calling 5D consciousness refers to a state of awareness that accesses this 5th-dimensional field, a field that exists beyond the constraints of linear time and localized space. It's a state where consciousness isn't limited to the here and now, but can perceive and interact with what quantum physicists call the probability field, the realm of all possibilities before they collapse into physical manifestation. This isn't just theoretical. Neuroscientists using advanced brain imaging technologies have documented distinct neurological states associated with this expanded awareness. These states show unprecedented levels of coherence between the brain's hemispheres, synchronization between the cortex and limbic system, and activation of neural networks previously thought to be dormant in human beings. What's most remarkable is that these neurological changes appear to be directly connected to the DNA activations I mentioned earlier. It's as if our genome contains the blueprint for this expanded consciousness, and that blueprint is now being systematically activated. So what exactly are these DNA activations, and why are they happening now? The research points to 3 primary categories of activation, each affecting different aspects of our biology and consciousness: electromagnetic sensitivity, amplification, coherence field generation, multidimensional perception activation. Let's explore each of these in detail. Electromagnetic sensitivity, amplification. The first category involves the activation of genes that enhance our body's ability to detect, process, and utilize subtle electromagnetic information from our environment. Our bodies are fundamentally electromagnetic in nature. Every heartbeat, every thought, every cellular process generates electromagnetic fields. But what's less understood is that we also constantly receive and process electromagnetic information from our environment. Everything from the Earth's geomagnetic field to the subtle energetic emissions of other living beings. What researchers have discovered is that specific sections of our junk DNA appear to code for proteins that dramatically enhance our sensitivity to these fields. As these genes activate, people report heightened awareness of energetic information, what's often described as increased intuition, empathic sensitivity, or environmental attunement. The biological mechanism appears to involve specialized structures called magnetosomes, microscopic crystals of magnetite found in human brain tissue that can detect subtle magnetic fields. Recent research has shown that these magnetosomes are connected to neural networks previously thought to be vestigial, networks that are now showing unprecedented levels of activation. What's particularly interesting is that these activations seem to be triggered by specific environmental factors, including increased exposure to certain frequencies of the Schumann resonance, the Earth's electromagnetic field, which has been showing unusual patterns of activity since 2017, heightened solar activity affecting the Earth's magnetosphere, particularly in the form of what astrophysicists call solar micropulsations, exposure to coherent electromagnetic fields generated by large groups of humans in synchronized states of consciousness, such as during mass meditations or coherent emotional responses to global events. These environmental triggers appear to be flipping genetic switches that have remained dormant throughout most of human history, until now. Coherence Field Generation. The second category of activation involves genes that enhance our ability to generate coherent electromagnetic fields through our heart, brain, and cellular structures. Research at the HeartMath Institute has demonstrated that the human heart generates an electromagnetic field that extends several feet from the body and contains encoded information that can be detected by the nervous systems of other living beings. What's new is the discovery that specific genetic sequences appear to enhance this field-generating capacity. As these genes activate, people experience increased influence on their physical environment, including measurable effects on random event generators and quantum systems, enhanced ability to affect biological processes in other living systems, including documented cases of accelerated healing and plant growth, greater capacity to synchronize with other humans, creating what researchers call field resonance that amplifies collective intention and consciousness. The biological mechanism involves increased coherence between the heart and brain, enhanced mitochondrial energy production, and the activation of cellular structures called microtubules that quantum physicist Roger Penrose has identified as potential quantum processing systems within our cells. What's particularly significant about these activations is that they appear to be contagious. Proximity to someone experiencing these changes seems to trigger similar activations in others, creating a cascade effect that may explain why these changes are accelerating globally. Multidimensional perception activation. The third and perhaps most profound category involves the activation of genes that allow conscious perception beyond the conventional limitations of space and time. Conventional neuroscience has maintained that human perception is limited to our immediate physical environment and the present moment. But research in remote viewing, precognition, and non-local consciousness has consistently demonstrated that human awareness can extend beyond these limitations under certain conditions. What's new is the discovery that specific genetic sequences appear to regulate the brain's filtering mechanisms that normally restrict our perception to the conventional four-dimensional framework. As these genes activate, these perceptual filters begin to relax, allowing awareness of information that transcends normal space-time constraints. People experiencing these activations report increased instances of what psychologists call non-local awareness, accurate perception of information from distant locations, time perception anomalies, including precognitive experiences, and what researchers call time-transparent cognition, awareness that operates outside linear time constraints, direct perception of quantum probability fields, the ability to sense multiple potential futures before they manifest. The neurobiological mechanism appears to involve the pineal gland, which contains unusual cellular structures, including rod and cone cells, typically only found in the retina, crystalline deposits that can respond to electromagnetic fields, and direct connections to visual processing centers in the brain that bypass normal sensory pathways. Recent research has shown that the pineal gland is regulated by specific genetic sequences previously considered non-coding junk DNA, and these sequences are showing unprecedented levels of activation in the population studies I mentioned earlier. So why are these activations happening now, after remaining dormant throughout most of human history? The research suggests three primary factors. First, we're experiencing unprecedented levels of electromagnetic stimulation from both natural and artificial sources. The Earth's geomagnetic field is undergoing significant changes as the magnetic poles shift at an accelerating rate. Solar activity is following unusual patterns that are exposing Earth to new frequencies of electromagnetic radiation, and our technological environment is generating complex electromagnetic fields that didn't exist throughout most of human evolution. Second, global consciousness appears to be reaching critical thresholds of coherence. Research projects like the Global Consciousness Project have documented measurable effects on quantum random event generators during periods of widespread human attention on single events. These moments of global coherence appear to create powerful field effects that can trigger dormant genetic potential. Third, we're witnessing the convergence of ancient wisdom traditions with cutting-edge science, creating new frameworks for understanding and working with consciousness. This convergence is enabling more people to consciously participate in their own evolutionary development, accelerating processes that might otherwise unfold over much longer time frames. But perhaps the most important question is, how can you consciously participate in and enhance these activations that are already underway within your own biology? Based on the research, there are 7 key practices that appear to support and accelerate these DNA activations. Coherent breathing. The first practice involves a specific breathing pattern that enhances coherence between the heart and brain, creating electromagnetic field conditions that support DNA activation. The pattern is remarkably simple. Inhale for a count of 6, exhale for a count of 6, with no pause between inhale and exhale. This creates a breathing cycle of 5 breaths per minute, which research at the HeartMath Institute has shown creates optimal heart-brain coherence. What makes this breathing pattern so effective is that it synchronizes multiple biological rhythms, respiratory, cardiovascular, and neural, creating what scientists call multi-leveled coherence that directly affects gene expression through electromagnetic field effects. Studies using real-time genetic analysis have shown that just 5 minutes of coherent breathing can alter the expression of over 1,200 genes, including many of those involved in the activations we're discussing. The practice is most effective when done for at least 10 minutes twice daily, once upon waking and once before sleep, when the brain is naturally transitioning through states that facilitate genetic reprogramming. Solar gazing. The second practice involves safe, limited exposure of the eyes to indirect sunlight during specific times of day. Contrary to conventional warnings, never to look at the sun, carefully controlled solar gazing during the first 30 minutes after sunrise, or the last 30 minutes before sunset appears to stimulate the pineal gland and associated neural pathways involved in multidimensional perception. The practice involves looking at the sun for just 10-15 seconds initially, gradually building to no more than 30 seconds over time, and only during the safe periods mentioned when harmful UV radiation is minimal. Research has shown that this practice increases production of specific neurotransmitters and hormones that regulate the pineal gland, including melatonin and pinealine, which have been linked to enhanced states of consciousness and DNA repair. What's particularly interesting is that these substances appear to affect the expression of genes involved in what researchers call light transduction pathways, genetic sequences that convert electromagnetic information into neurochemical signals. Electromagnetic field hygiene. The third practice involves minimizing exposure to incoherent electromagnetic fields that can interfere with the body's natural electromagnetic processes. This includes creating a sleep sanctuary, free from wireless devices, with all electronics either removed or powered down, grounding the body through direct contact with the earth for at least 20 minutes daily, which research has shown reduces inflammation and synchronizes bodily rhythms with the Earth's natural fields, using wired connections rather than wireless when possible, and keeping mobile devices in airplane mode when not in use, taking regular breaks from all technology to allow the body's electromagnetic field to reset to its natural coherence. Studies using heart rate variability as a measure of autonomic nervous system function have shown that these practices significantly enhance the body's electromagnetic coherence, creating conditions that support the genetic activations we're discussing. Coherent emotional cultivation. The fourth practice involves consciously cultivating specific emotional states that generate coherent electromagnetic fields. Research at the HeartMath Institute has shown that different emotions create distinctly different patterns in the heart's electromagnetic field. Emotions like frustration, anger, and anxiety create jagged, incoherent patterns, while emotions like appreciation, compassion, and calm joy create smooth, coherent patterns that enhance whole-body communication. What's particularly relevant is that these coherent emotional states have been shown to affect gene expression, activating genes associated with immune function, hormonal balance, and cellular regeneration. Many of the same genes involved in the evolutionary activations we're discussing. The practice involves intentionally generating feelings of genuine appreciation or compassion for 5-10 minutes several times daily, particularly when facing challenges that might otherwise trigger stress responses. Frequency-specific sound exposure. The fifth practice involves regular exposure to specific sound frequencies that research has shown can affect gene expression and brain function. Particularly effective are solfeggio frequencies, particularly 528 Hz, which has been shown in laboratory studies to influence DNA repair mechanisms. Binaural beats in the theta range, 4 to 8 Hz, which create brainwave states associated with enhanced genetic expression and neuroplasticity. Harmonic overtone-rich sounds such as crystal bowls, certain wind instruments, or overtone singing, which create complex frequency patterns that appear to stimulate specific neural networks involved in expanded awareness. The practice involves listening to these frequencies for 15-30 minutes daily, ideally with high-quality headphones that can accurately reproduce the specific frequencies without distortion. Intentional field coherence. The sixth practice involves consciously directing and focusing your body's electromagnetic field through specific visualization techniques. The basic practice involves centering awareness in the heart area, while generating a feeling of calm appreciation, visualizing your heart's electromagnetic field, extending outward in a coherent spherical pattern that encompasses your entire body, gradually expanding this field to fill your immediate environment, then beyond, while maintaining the coherent emotional state, setting specific intentions for how this field interacts with your DNA, visualizing the activation of your full genetic potential. Research using GDV gas discharge visualization technology has shown that this practice creates measurable changes in the body's electromagnetic field, increasing both its strength and coherence in ways that support the genetic activations we're discussing. Collective coherence participation. The seventh practice involves regular participation in collective consciousness, experiences that generate powerful field effects. Research has consistently shown that groups of people in coherent states of consciousness create electromagnetic field effects far stronger than individuals can generate alone. These collective fields appear to be particularly effective at triggering the genetic activations we're discussing. The practice can involve participation in synchronized global meditations, many of which are organized online and allow participation from anywhere. Regular meditation or prayer, with even a small group of like-minded individuals focused on similar intentions. Immersion in natural settings, where multiple living systems are already in coherent relationship, such as old-growth forests or pristine natural environments. Attendance at events where large groups experience coherent emotional states, such as certain concerts, ceremonies, or gatherings focused on positive change. What makes these collective experiences so powerful is that they create what physicists call constructive interference patterns, where aligned fields amplify each other, creating effects far greater than the sum of their parts. As you implement these practices consistently, you'll likely notice several distinct phases in your experience of these DNA activations. In the initial phase, typically the first 30 to 60 days, you may experience what researchers call the recalibration response, temporary discomforts, as your body adjusts to new patterns of energy flow and processing. These can include unusual sleep patterns, heightened sensitivity to foods and environments, and emotional fluctuations as old patterns release. In the intermediate phase, typically 2 to 6 months, you'll likely notice increased energy, heightened sensory awareness, greater intuitive clarity, and what many describe as a sense of remembering, as if you're reconnecting with aspects of yourself that were always present, but somehow forgotten. In the advanced phase, generally 6+ months, the new patterns become your normal state of functioning. The practices that initially required conscious effort become automatic, and you'll likely experience spontaneous access to expanded states of awareness that previously required specific conditions or techniques. It's important to understand that these activations aren't creating something new or foreign to your nature. They're awakening capacities that have always existed within your DNA, capacities that represent your natural evolutionary heritage as a multidimensional being. This understanding addresses one of the most common questions about these changes. Are they safe? The research indicates that these activations are not only safe, but represent the fulfillment of our natural developmental potential. The discomforts that sometimes accompany the process are not signs of something wrong, but of systems upgrading to more coherent and expanded functioning. That said, it's wise to approach this process with both commitment and patience. The shift from 4D to 5D consciousness represents a significant evolutionary development, one that affects every level of your being from the cellular to the spiritual. Supporting your body with excellent nutrition, adequate hydration, sufficient rest, and appropriate supplementation can ease the transition considerably. It's also worth noting that these activations often unfold in a non-linear fashion. You may experience dramatic shifts followed by periods of integration, or gradual changes punctuated by sudden leaps in awareness and ability. This variability is normal and reflects the complex, multidimensional nature of the process. Perhaps most importantly, remember that while these changes may sometimes feel isolating, as if you're experiencing something that others around you don't understand, you are part of a global community undergoing this shift together. The research I cited at the beginning found these activations occurring in 83% of those studied across diverse populations worldwide. You are not alone in this process. If you feel drawn to consciously participate in these DNA activations that are already underway within you, I invite you to begin with the coherent breathing practice I described earlier. This simple technique creates the foundational coherence that supports all the other activations, and its effects can be felt almost immediately. And if you're already experiencing signs of these activations, increased sensitivity, unusual perceptions, heightened intuition, or any of the other indicators I've described, drop the word activating in the comments below. This isn't just for engagement, it's a way of connecting with others who are consciously participating in this remarkable evolutionary process. And if you're new to this channel, subscribe to join a community of people who are exploring the frontiers of human potential and consciousness evolution, because the truth is, what we're calling 5D consciousness isn't some far-off spiritual ideal. It's a tangible shift in human functioning that's already underway within your own DNA, waiting only for your conscious participation to fully flower. The ancient Hermetic axiom, as above, so below, reminds us that the macrocosm of universal evolution is reflected in the microcosm of our personal development. Perhaps it's time to recognize that the next step in human evolution isn't waiting in some distant future. It's happening right now, within the very cells of your body, as your DNA awakens to its full multidimensional potential.